Well, students, I just wanted to create a video of the Quest answer key, just in case you wanted to look at this, and maybe some of you might want to try again, but you've done pretty well overall. So our first equation is 4 aluminums with 3 oxygens producing 2 aluminum oxides. And the question is 6 moles of aluminum will produce how many moles of oxygen? So I'm going to take 6 moles of aluminum, and then I want to get the moles of oxygen. So oxygen is going to be on top. So I look up to my equation, and O2 has a 3 with it. Aluminum has a 4. So since I'm in moles, this is going to be an Ohio one-stepper. 6 times 3 over 4 gives me 4.5 moles of oxygen. Next question. 5 moles of oxygen produce how many grams of aluminum oxide? So now I'm in moles here, but I'm going to grams. This will be a Texas two-stepper. So I've got 5 moles of oxygen. I want to find my aluminum oxide. So I look up here. There's a 2 for my aluminum oxide, and there is a 3 for my oxygen. I'm going to put the aluminum oxide on top because that's what I'm solving for. So I'll go 5 times 2 over 3. And then I'm finish up by multiplying by 101.963, which is the molar mass of aluminum oxide per 1 mole. So that's 2 aluminums and 3 oxygens added together, which gives me my 101.963. So the first step is the mole ratio, and my last step is converting my moles of aluminum oxide out to grams. And my answer is 339.9 grams of aluminum oxide. Now the next question here. 14 grams of aluminum will produce how many grams of oxygen? Well, this is going to be an Alaskan 3-stepper. I got to take my 14 grams of aluminum, multiply it by 1 mole of aluminum over its molar mass from the periodic table. And now since I'm going to oxygen, I'm looking, there's a 3 for my oxygen up here, and there's a 4 for my aluminum down there. So that's going to be a 3 moles of oxygen on top, divided by 4 moles of oxygen on the bottom. And I'll finish up by multiplying by the molar mass of oxygen, that's O2, so 31.998 grams of oxygen over 1 mole of oxygen. And that's how we do the first 3 questions of this. Let's go to the second part. For our second part, our balanced equation is 2 titaniums plus 3 hydrogen sulfates makes 1 titanium sulfate and 3 hydrogens. And this is titanium 3 sulfate. Okay, the balanced equation is provided this time for you. Okay, so let's get started here. So first question, 4 moles of titanium will make how many moles of titanium sulfate? Well, I start with my 4 moles of titanium. I'm going to titanium sulfate, so all I need is a mole ratio. This is an Ohio one-stepper. So there's a 1 next to my titanium sulfate here. There's a 2 next to my titanium there. So I'll take 4 times 1 over 2, and that gives me 2 moles. Okay, for the next question, 5 moles of hydrogen sulfate produces how many moles of titanium sulfate? So I'm starting with my 5 moles, and I've got to go to moles of titanium sulfate, so that one's going to be on top again. So once again, I've got my 1 on top here, and there's a 3 next to the hydrogen sulfate, so it's times 1 over 3, and that gives me 1.7 moles of titanium 3 sulfate. Now the question 6 is, which one is the limiter? Well, the limiter is going to be the one that produces the smaller of the 2 amounts. So 1.7 is smaller than 2, so H2SO4, or hydrogen sulfate, is the limiter for this question. Okay, now let's look at the last 3 questions. First question, 16 grams of titanium makes how many grams of hydrogen? So I'm starting with 16 grams of titanium times 1 mole of titanium over the molar mass of titanium, again from the periodic table. Okay, let me pull this back down so we can look at our mole ratio. So I look up here, there is a 3 in front of the H2 and a 2 in front of the titanium, so therefore it's going to be 3 divided by 2. And that'll give me my moles of hydrogen. I finish up by multiplying by the molar mass of H2, so twice hydrogen is 2.016. And I multiply these across, and I divide these, and I get 1.03 grams. Next question. 24 grams of H2SO4 makes how many grams of hydrogen? So what we're comparing is who's the limiter between the titanium or the hydrogen sulfate. So again, I'll start with my 24 grams of hydrogen sulfate times 1 mole over its molar mass from the periodic table. That's 2 hydrogens, 1 sulfur, and 4 oxygens. That's 98.076. And then times 3 over 3. So let's take a look. There's a 3 in front of the hydrogen here, a 3 in front of the H2SO4. So times 3 over 3. And now I've got moles of hydrogen. So I'm going to times that again by the molar mass of hydrogen, 2.016 grams of hydrogen per 1 mole. And that gives me 0.493 grams of hydrogen. And the last question here is, who's the limiter? Again, that'll be the one that produces the least amount of hydrogen. In this case, we have 0.493 compared to 1.03. So H2SO4, again, is the limiter in this case. So hopefully that makes sense. And like I said, if anyone wants to try again, you all did pretty well. So some of you might want to try again, but that's okay.